The tornado which touched down in our community on May 31st, 1998 will never be forgotten. But also something else that will never be forgotten is the great attitudes of the victims of this devastating tornado. Neighbors coming together to help neighbors, volunteers coming together all over the community of Stillwater, Mechanicville, and just people coming together to help people. And I want to thank all the volunteers and all of the firefighters and the rescue squad people and all of the people that have come together to help the victims of the tornado. Let's not forget the outstanding service of the New York State Police and the National Guard, which was tremendous in the recovery process. I would like to dedicate this tape to one young state trooper who touched the hearts of all of us here at Stillwater. His infectious smile, his outstanding personality, kept us going during the most difficult times of this devastation. This is for you, Charlie Perkins. Most of what is on this tape really is a result of Trooper Perkins, who was a media specialist for the New York State Police, who was killed tragically on July 29th. And so we want to make sure that this film is dedicated to Trooper Perkins, who, as I said, touched the hearts of many people in this community.
Less than 2 weeks ago, a tornado ripped through the community of Stillwater, causing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage. But amidst the wreckage, the Stillwater baseball team and their coach, who is also the city's supervisor, have persevered, both on the field and at home.
What it did for us, I think, is it put the game in the proper perspective, and it is a game, you know, and I've talked to them about the game of life and the game of baseball. And now they know the difference.
Everybody's helping together, pulling together for the people in Mechanicville that were hit by it.
Clean it up, practice. I mean, we've done it before games sometimes, you know, after school, you know, just whenever we can help.
In fact, the storm which tore apart much of the county has actually brought the community closer together. And that spirit seems to have found a focal point on the baseball field.
Lots of friends and family. You know, lost their house, lost this. I mean, we've gone out there, we've helped them clean it up, and we've really bonded.
Of course, the recent tornado has brought the whole community together. But this team has come together in the same fashion. I mean, it's like a family. You're going to represent a lot of people this weekend.
That sentiment, along with a wealth of pitching and some timely hitting, adds up to a sparkling 25-1 record, bringing the team within just 2 games of a state championship and the community a giant step closer to recovery.
Winning a state championship would bring the morale of this community up like you've never seen it. 1, 2, 3. Warriors!
We don't have a full count, and I think the authorities here are still trying to figure out exactly just how bad this storm was and how many injuries. Jim Cambrick is with me as well. We'll talk to him in a second, but this is one of the local people. His name is Monroe, and his home was heavily damaged by these winds.
Well, just before I started, I went out to get in my truck to leave to go somewhere, and I saw the treetops moving, and my truck started to slide sideways. So, and then I saw one tree fall over, so I got out and ran back inside. And then I looked out the window, and the trees were falling over, so I hollered to my wife and son to get down in the basement. And then when it got all over, we looked across the street. We said, oh, man, look at his house. And then we came outside in the front here, and we looked at our own, and I don't know what we're going to do.
Jim Cambrick is with me. Jim just came back from an area of Mechanicville particularly hard hit. Jim, what did you see up there?
The area hard hit, Brian, from what we could tell, was Vial Road and Saratoga Street. There is a gas main, apparently, that runs down Saratoga. The devastation there, as you've already seen, tremendous. People there have been evacuated. The big devastation, though, and let's go to the videotape. We just took some pictures just a few moments ago on Vial Road. It's a hill. It goes up. It has just been shredded up there. Homes torn apart, trucks turned upside down, cars with 2x4s driven right through them as though a giant hand just slammed them right through. People walking just dazed up there. Some people wondering what they're going to do next. We saw emergency crew workers up there. They were having a tough time coming to grips with the devastation up there. As you said, they're still in the developmental stages of figuring out how to handle this situation up there.
We understand the state police have a command post in Mechanicville where they're trying to get this whole thing organized. It's still ongoing. We're still in the middle of rain, thunder, and lightning here. Also, the Red Cross, we understand, at the Mechanicville Middle School has set up a shelter. They have about 150 people there. If you are, by any chance, watching this on a battery-operated television or hearing us somehow, wondering where to go, the Mechanicville Middle School has a Red Cross shelter set up this evening. You can go there until they'll let you back into your home, or if you have any concern about power coming back on, that would be the place to go. Elaine.
Okay, incredible pictures coming out of there. We were reading earlier that there were about 10 or 15 people injured. You say there's possibly more injuries?
Yeah, I think they're still trying to sort this whole thing out. I mean, this storm came through here literally like a freight train. Luckily, there had been warnings earlier today on both the radio and television, and the weather radios that NOAA runs, that's a national weather service. A lot of people knew this might be coming, but a lot of people still caught by surprise, and people just shocked here. Even the rescue people, as Jim said, just can't believe the kind of devastation that has ripped through the center part of Saratoga County here in the Mechanicville and Half Moon area.
To the Associated Press, a child was struck by lightning in the storm. That child is at a nearby hospital in stable condition. At least 20 people were injured in Mechanicville. Most suffered minor injuries, and there are 8 unconfirmed reports of tornadoes touching down over the capital region. And at this moment, 64,000 homes are without power, and 14,000 of those are in the Saratoga County area.
Brian, just incredible, as you've been saying all along. Right now, we understand there's about 150 people in shelters between Mechanicville and Stillwater, uncertain tonight as to when they will be able to return home. Some won't be able to because home isn't there any longer. The rain came down in sheets. Lightning struck numerous times, but still to come, the worst, the awesome power of a tornado. It roared through the Vial Avenue area in the late afternoon, the hardest hit area. Residents here say, in their minds, no mistaking it. It was a twister.
It was like a big humming noise, and like a train was coming. Everything was vibrating. It was scary. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
And we ran downstairs to the basement and just sat there, shaking.
Houses smashed beyond recognition. Cars and trucks overturned. The devastation so bad it even shocked emergency crews.
This is god-awful.
Businesses also hard hit. Mike Zapone was talking with customers at a local furniture store when the twister slammed into the building.
It was just like a diesel engine coming right through the back end of the design center. It was unbelievable that it didn't touch any. There must have been about 6, 7 people in the store, and we were all in the same area towards the front of the store, so no one had gotten hurt, so that was a blessing right there.
And I'm Benita Zahn live here, basically on the border of Mechanicville and the town of Stillwater, what you might call ground zero, the area's hardest hit by the storms, the tornadoes that tore through town last night. Every cliche that you have ever heard about the damage that a tornado does is true. Trees look like toys that have been tossed aside. Buildings, just take a look at what was the DeCrescenti beverage center and warehouse behind me. Today it looks like a child's building blocks that a child would have just knocked down. One street appears untouched while another is shredded.
This is unbelievable. It looks like everybody stepped out of a movie. You're walking through and you're just like, what happened here? You don't think anything like this would happen in Mechanicville, you know?
Like a war zone, that's what you think as you drive along routes 4 and 32 between Mechanicville and Stillwater. Signs of bruising, signs of devastation, and an overwhelming sense of miracle and relief no one was killed.
Their problem was the dog took off. They chased the dog.
So I ran up because I was afraid that my son was going to die. So I said, I'll go with him.
But somehow, even as the storm bore down, they all found safety. The damage was then, yesterday. The cleanup is now, today.
I'm fine. I got a generator.
But it's like the tale of two cities. Down the hill, they're weathering the loss of power, the downed trees. But up on Vile Hill, it's loss of homes.
Zapones is gone. And Sersha, number 4, unsafe.
These folks anxiously wait for state police to tell them if they can even enter their homes for salvage, valuables, anything.
This is all I have.
The clothes on their back and each other. For now, that's enough. What are you going to do?
Rebuild, I hope.
And for some of these folks, it's going to be a very big job. For some of those homes, there's basically nothing but the foundation that's left there. And it's been very busy here today in town. It's difficult, I think, for some of the repair and cleanup crews to get through. Just want you to look up routes 4 and 32 here with me for a moment, and you can see the line of cars. It has been like this all day long. People coming, trying to take a look, see what has happened. And I think, John, that folks want to make some sense out of what has happened here, too, because it's really hard to believe that a building like that could be reduced to the rubble that it is and that it happened so fast.
I'm curious, Benita, talking to the folks, were a lot of them home when this came through? Did they go to the basement, or did some of them just get out of there and go to shelters?
You know, John, most of them were in fact home, and there was a little bit of warning. There was a siren that happened, and everybody heeded that, and they ran to their basements as fast as possible. One fellow said to me he just couldn't believe it. There were a few neighbors who actually went outside to take a look, and he can't believe that they're alive today. They talk about the power of the storm, doors that they couldn't pull behind them, door frames that they saw shaking as the storm tore through.
Totally amazing, and I can't imagine standing there with a group of your neighbors waiting for a state trooper to read off the number of your house to find out if, in fact, it's still there, or if you can even go in there and reclaim some of your life.
Very much so. You know, they're nervous, there's concerns, there's fears, and I think, though, as the hours are going to give way, if they're not going to get answers, there's also a sense of anger. You know, they want to be able to go in and do something. This is their home. They want to get something. They want to fix something.
To really get a grasp on how bad this is, you really need to be above it, a bird's eye view to look at the damage. Let's go back live to Benita Zahn, who is in Mechanicville. And Benita, I understand you have that aspect of the story as well.
Yeah, in fact, you're right, John. You do have to get above it in order to see it. In fact, that's how the National Weather Service finally makes a determination that it was, in fact, a tornado by looking at the pattern of the damage. Jim Cambrick is joining me now, and I know that the National Weather Service, Jim, just basically in the last hour or so said not only was this a tornado, it was what they would call an F3 or an F4. Very, very powerful. F5 is about as big as it gets.
Unfortunately, it wasn't that strong, Benita. They use actually a combination of a couple of things, as you mentioned. They use a combination of air surveys and ground surveys to make their determination. Actually, the scientists with the National Weather Service are not unlike detectives, searching for clues. The path of destruction is evident at 1,000 feet up. It's an important vantage point for Warren Snyder, Science Operations Officer with the National Weather Service. He's trying to determine if what did all this damage was technically a tornado. For Snyder, the visual evidence is pretty convincing.
Appears to be winds between about 150 and 200 miles an hour.
Snyder notes the degree of devastation to homes, the direction the trees fell, and how they were broken.
You can also see this one there where the top is literally just twisted off.
Would you say that what you're seeing right now is consistent with that of a tornado?
Yes.
Other evidence, a visible path, and the way in which debris was scattered, which also reveals the direction the storm was traveling.
And we probably got debris down here a good half-mile or more from those houses.
From the time the tornado touched down in Mechanicville, it carved a swath of destruction about 10 miles long, heading in an easterly direction. It is one of the most intense storms the National Weather Service has ever seen in this area.
It looks certainly to be in the F2 and F3 range, and but we have to correlate that with the crew that's working on the ground. Haven't quite seen anything like this since Berkshire County 95.
So again, the National Weather Service has made the official determination it was a tornado, Benita, and thank goodness it wasn't a level 5, which is the strongest they can get.
I have to wonder how soon after you got into the air with Warren Snyder did he say that was a tornado?
One look at his face, the moment he laid eyes on the destruction, especially up on Vile Avenue, he said right away, that's it, that's a tornado. just the corkscrew motion of the way the debris was scattered, the way the trees were twisted, no doubt in his mind whatsoever. He pegged it right then.
I should point out Vile Avenue, the hill is just up over here. Then down here on the streets, it's a different pattern of destruction.
He says the farther up you go in the funnel cloud, the faster the winds are. That's why you'll see just a little bit of skipping motion on the bottom. It's up on the hill where the tornado just sort of, those high winds come right in and pow, takes out everything.
And then one fellow was telling me as the tornado skipped down across, went right across the river, took out one house right the other side.
You can see it for 10 miles, a definitive path. It's like giant footprints all across for 10 miles, like a giant foot just smashed down trees left and right.
Jim, thank you. And of course, we'll have more from here in Mechanicville and Stillwater. John?
Yeah, I have to say, Benita, we see video like this all the time, but it's always someplace else, never here, but to see the video, it's right in our own backyard.
Everybody was saying this only happens in the Midwest. It doesn't happen in the capital region. Well, it does.
That's a tornado. They've determined, the National Weather Service investigating it, that it was an F3 tornado. And on the scale of 0 to 5, that puts it, the estimated winds in the range of 158 to 206 miles an hour.
And I'm Chris Compostasci in Mechanicville, and I am standing right in the middle of the path of destruction left by this tornado. There are homes leveled. You can see behind me businesses destroyed. As I was driving into Mechanicville, I saw one business with a huge gaping hole as if Godzilla had walked by and punched a hole into it. But of course, this is no movie, and residents here are learning the harsh realities of what Mother Nature can do. It is both financial and emotional devastation here. Meteorologist Howard Altschul has been looking at the path of the storm all day today. Now, I've been saying, Howie, a tornado, but some witnesses have said to me they thought there were two.
That's right, Chris. There's still a question as to how many tornadoes actually did occur here in Mechanicville, Stillwater area. The National Weather Service is on the scene right now, and that's going to help us determine exactly how strong the winds were here.
It looks kind of like it was either a very, very wide tornado, a couple hundred yards wide or more, or it's possible that it was a multiple vortex tornado, just looking at the damage. We'll have more of an idea once we get back to the office and assess everything. In addition to the cars being tossed around, if you look at the garage door there behind you, you'll notice that there's debris peppered up against the face of it, and that's a typical trait for F2 and larger tornadoes, is that the damage is sort of enhanced by little pieces of debris being thrown at high speeds against the buildings.
It's incredible. When I arrived here this afternoon with the news crews and we met with the National Weather Service, Dick Westergaard, the warning coordination meteorologist, we looked at the houses up on the hill, and before he even arrived here, I said, this was definitely a tornado. I could look at the circulation, look at those houses up on the hill. Trees on either side of those houses are pretty much intact, but right in the center where that tornado passed through, and right over this, what was a deli, it just leveled everything. And that was indication enough to me that there was a tornado. And Dick Westergaard, when we toured this area, confirmed this for me, Chris. So it's pretty clear cut that it's a strong tornado. We're looking now F3, F4, which is over 256 miles per hour. So we're talking a pretty major tornado in this area, yet to be officially confirmed by the Weather Service. But
one of the questions I continue to hear is, how could this happen here? We don't think of it happening in the Northeast, certainly not a tornado of this strength.
Oh, sure. This is a very, very rare event for our area. We probably won't see anything in our lifetime, or certainly the next 50 years, hopefully. But lots of tornadoes usually occur out in the Midwest and the Great Plains, but conditions were just right with a very strong southerly wind direction and winds aloft created spinning thunderstorms, and every once in a while things kind of come together, and unfortunately they did here Sunday evening.
Howard, thank you very much. We've heard a lot of comparisons. It looks like a war zone. It looks like Vietnam. The buildings behind me actually reminded me of the Oklahoma City bombing, because the building is completely missing, but you have soda machines left standing. It really is something remarkable to see. Brian Jackson has also been here throughout the day, and one of the first things you notice is the traffic. These obviously aren't just people, but folks who want to come and see firsthand the destruction that Mother Nature has wrought here.
Chris, it took a long time to get to our location here today. Roads blocked off, and just the slow going, as you can see behind us, very slow going. Streets here in Mechanicville are clogged with the curious on streets that are already overburdened with police, emergency, and fire vehicles. And as we look at these people who are coming through the city of Mechanicville, we are finding as the cars crawl through the streets, many of these people have cameras and camcorders, simply awestruck by the devastation that is normally not seen in our region. Although the police have asked that there be no unnecessary travel in this area, that has not deterred the many curious who have been determined to come see this damage and devastation firsthand. And one of those surveying the devastation this afternoon was Becky Briggs of Clifton Park, who says she almost moved to Mechanicville just a month ago.
So I had numbers, I had appointments with places, I've looked at places, just didn't find the one I liked.
What do you think now that you've seen this devastation?
I'm glad I didn't come. I really am, because I can't imagine just what these people are going through right now. I'm glad I'm that way.
And once again, police and emergency crews are asking there be no unnecessary travel. Route 67 into Mechanicville is still blocked off because of trees that are down and crews working up there. So even if you try to get here, it takes a long time, and you're just adding to the burden. And hopefully we can show you on television what you would see here and probably do it better for you than having you come down here. So our recommendation, and the police asking once again that you stay out of Mechanicville while they try to get this mess cleaned up.
Okay, thanks very much, Brian. And I'm sure that many of the people who are watching right now and seeing the devastation are wondering how they can help. We'll have more on that as our 90 minutes of coverage continues. For now, John, back to you.
News Channel 13, live at 6.
Tonight's top story, continuing coverage of the cleanup from last night's storms. Dozens of families are homeless, more than 20,000 people without power, and many Capital Region residents are ready to lend a helping hand.
This is News Channel 13, live at 6.
Good evening, I'm Ed Day.
And I'm Chris Kapostashi, live in Mechanicville. And state and local forces are now mobilizing to help the people in this community and others that have been devastated by this powerful storm. 2 deaths and at least 80 injuries are now attributed to the storm statewide, and the financial damages are just beginning to be counted. They will pile up.
New York State Governor George Pataki toured the damage by air and on the ground, pledging the state's support to victims he met along the way.
The whole state's behind you.
And many of these people are in dire need of all the help they can get.
My family wasn't home in time, thank God, because it was incredible.
All they have is gone, torn away by a twister that chewed up everything in its half-mile wide path.
You see it on TV, you see pictures of it, but I've never seen anything like it. It's like a bomb hit it.
These houses were reduced to rubble by a funnel cloud that roared through Saratoga and Rensselaer counties at almost 200 miles per hour. Right now I'm at Ground Zero. This is believed to be the area hardest hit by the tornado. It's Vial Avenue Hill in Stillwater, a new development, homes destroyed all around me. In fact, this home completely leveled, the residents of the home uninjured because they knew enough to go inside the basement. And that may be the most shocking part of this story, that no one was killed or seriously injured. And for that, the governor gives partial credit to accurate first warnings by television and radio stations.
It's an utter miracle, complete miracle that not one person here in the Capital Region was killed. When you look at the complete devastation, you just have to give thanks to God.
In Stillwater, Mark Mulholland, News Channel 13.
Governor Pataki has now declared 4 upstate counties disaster areas. They are Saratoga, Rensselaer, Otsego, and Broome counties, which makes them eligible for federal disaster relief. This storm is a F3 or an F4, according to the National Weather Service, on a scale where F5 is as devastating as it gets. So a lot of help will be needed. That designation will help. A little later on, Ed, we'll be talking to a representative from the Red Cross about what they're doing to help. Your experiences was yesterday, but I'm sure thousands of viewers shared what happened to me. I was watching television and Bob Kovacic came on with a special bulletin, and he went down the list of things that happen when a tornado is coming, when the severe storm comes, and within 5 minutes it happened. The sky blackened, the winds whipped up, it started to rain, and so everyone in my house, which is in Rensselaer County, we went into the basement and we kind of waited it out. You could hear the high winds. We heard a loud thump, which turned out to be a grill up on the patio. When we went upstairs, though, basically what happened at our house was minor. Unfortunately, for so many people in our area, there was very, very serious damage. And that's when the Red Cross springs into action. Carol Crashone is at our other location here in Mechanicville at the Price Chopper. Carol, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Tell me what immediate needs the Red Cross had to deal with last night and today.
The Red Cross immediately had to deal with setting up shelters and seeing that the people have the opportunity to get to those shelters. And today we started our disaster assessment and taking the grueling task and going throughout the community to see just what those needs were for the individuals. And tomorrow, not only tonight, we'll be housing the individuals and feeding them and taking care of their clothing needs, but tomorrow we'll begin dealing with their actual individual needs and what they'll need to begin to rebuild their lives. And of course, in any kind of a disaster like this, we always have trauma and crisis. It's such a shock to people when they see their homes there yesterday and really gone today, so to speak. So we have our mental health counselors on the ready, and they're taking care of so many of those needs.
I realize it's early, but as you do your preliminary damage assessment, can you kind of put this in perspective for us, maybe comparing it to other disasters that you've worked on?
Well, the disaster in January, the ice storms up north, this is very comparable to that. We have other Red Cross workers coming in from across the state. They're arriving tonight so that they can help us with this.
Are you confident that you're going to get the kind of help that you need?
I think we will. I think we have very talented people coming in, and we have our wonderful volunteers in these chapters here locally. And of course, we have our community that really supports us and helps us to get through these disasters.
I'm Chris Kapasnashi, live once again in Mechanicville, and within a few days, the National Weather Service will determine whether the destruction that you see behind me and throughout Mechanicville, Stillwater, several other counties upstate was caused by one tornado or two, whether it was an F3 or an F4. But one thing is certain, the Capital Region is mobilizing to help the people who have been hurt. Governor Pataki has declared 4 upstate county disaster areas, Red Cross, Salvation Army going to work. Ed?
Live at 11.
Tonight's top story, a time to rebuild. The view from the air shows the destructive power of a tornado. If there's one thing we heard over and over today, it's a miracle no one was killed.
This is News Channel 13, live at 11.
Good evening, I'm Chris Kapasnashi.
And I'm Ed Dagan. There were at least 3 deaths related to this storm, but none in our area. We were very fortunate in that because this is where the worst damage occurred. Governor Pataki toured Mechanicville today before declaring a state of emergency in Saratoga County. He also declared an emergency in Rensselaer County and to the west in Broome and Otsego counties.
You see it on TV, you see pictures of it, but I've never seen anything like it. It's like a bomb hit. It's just nothing like nothing I've ever seen.
The governor promised to provide help from the National Guard, the state police, the Department of Environmental Conservation, and the Transportation Department. He pledged to help some homeowners who asked for assistance with insurance and other storm-related paperwork. Brian Jackson is monitoring the cleanup effort in Mechanicville. He joins us now live with the very latest. Brian.
And this was the day after for those who were hit by this violent tornado here in the Mechanicville area. It was also a day to give thanks that most people escaped serious injury, and it was a day to begin cleaning up.
You don't know where to start right now. You don't know what to pick up first.
Normally, Pete Babineau would have spent his Monday repairing beer trucks at DeCrescenti Distributors. Instead, he spent the day trying to figure out how he's going to do his job without the 6-bay garage that was leveled by the tornado.
Well, we're probably looking at a week and a half to get it cleaned out of here. Probably 6 months before we're 100% again at this end.
Meanwhile, Bill Crossan was working overtime, trying to deal with the flood of orders to replace windows and windshields.
I have 9 windshields with me tonight. I'll work tonight until they're done.
Also working past his regular quitting time was insurance adjuster Brian Sikorsky.
Something like this completely caught me off guard to come out here this morning and to see what looked